Well, it's been a couple of years since my last video about this particular bike, the CRF500L that I built. And there's been a lot of questions and a lot of people have approached me and messaged me asking for some more details about what I've done with the bike, what's changed since I first built it, how well it's going. So I thought I'd do a little review. As you can see, all its clothes are off at the moment. All the panels are down here on the floor. I'm just doing some service. It's beginning of the season soon. Hopefully we get out of lockdown and get out riding again. So I've been doing some maintenance, and I thought while I've got it all stripped down, I could run through and show you what I've done to this bike, because it's changed a lot since I first did it. Since you've seen the video of it starting up for its first ever time, done about 8,000 miles, I think, maybe a little bit more than that. Mostly a lot of it mixed road, a lot of off-road. Been to quite a few events with it, and it's working exactly where I wanted to, which is a brilliant long-distance multi-surface vehicle. It's quite light. It weighs 153 kilos fully fueled. That's for about 190 to 200 miles. The fuel tank's on the floor, by the way, in case you're wondering what was going on. Just an Acerbis, the 12.5 litre tank. Fits perfectly well. You have to put the 500 CBX fuel pump in there and the sender from the 250L. They're completely interchangeable. The 250L is the completely opposite way around, 180 degrees around sender unit than the CB500, which is why you have to swap them. So obviously we were talking on the video, the original video of this, about the CB500 engine that's in here. As you can see, this side's taken a bit of a beating. I really do need to get some engine cover. The problem I've got is obviously the clearance to the brake pedal is not great, and anything I put on to protect there is going to push my foot further out. Already riding with some pretty massive foot pegs on there to give myself a bit of clearance on the engine. Right, I'm going to start from the front. You have to excuse me, there's quite a lot of mess in the garage at the moment. I'm restoring a couple of old CB750s. So there's engines and bits and pieces everywhere. But I'll try and give you a rundown of what I've done. So probably the biggest thing on the front since the bike was first built is it now has a CRF450R front end. So that's triple trees, forks, wheel, caliper, runs the whole front end. I had race deck suspension in the old CRF250L front end. I just couldn't get it tuned the way I wanted it. Couldn't get it quite with the amount of travel or the amount of space I wanted. I wanted to add to the ground clearance, and I'll talk about that a little bit further on in the video. But I wanted to get a bit more ground clearance. I wanted to get a bit more feel in the front end, so I've swapped it over. I then swapped back from the original 450R Yokes back to the 250L. I didn't quite like the steering angle it created. There's a bit of an offset on the 450R, and it was making the front end really twitchy. So I bought out the yokes that I use, and actually they are Zeta. It's a Zeta head clamp. So this top yoke piece here is from Zeta, and I did it because it's got bolt-through mounts, and that allows me to mount the highway dirt bikes. Sorry, I'm putting it in the wrong place. It's bolt-through here that allows me to put in this highway dirt bikes mount that holds the whole front end together. So I've changed that back to that. I've gone back to the 250L yokes, or triple trees, depending on which language you speak, I guess. But it also means now I've gone back to original 250L front fender, and yeah, allows me to kind of run a pretty standard top end setup, the front end, from what I was running on the original bike. So what we're doing on the above the front forks is I'm running highway dirt bikes Rallye Lite fairing. It's a really simple setup. It's really light. It means I can run control switches along the top plate that's part of their system. It gives me somewhere to mount this the clocks to, the CB500 clocks. It gives me these brilliant hand protectors, the brush guards. And you can see they've got highway dirt bikes amazing fold-out mirrors. I absolutely love these things. They're genius. I've actually mounted the indicators on there if I can get around the front of the bike. You can see indicators inside the handguards. It also means I can run Squadron Pro headlights. So I've got, this is my normal riding beam. It's set up higher because I want to get road clearance. And then I've got a full beam, high beam on the bottom, which gives an amazing amount of light. You switch on, it's like daylight. They are absolutely fantastic. As we move around the bike, Flatlands, Radiate Protector. I do have a different radiator for this bike. I was having some heating problems, or cooling problems more specifically. when I first built the bike. And I built, oh actually it's over there. I bought a high density radiator which holds about twice the amount of fin coverage, I think it says, something along those lines, twice the amount of cooling. But actually, since I've made a few changes, I've really got a handle on the temperature control, and I very rarely get anywhere near the temperatures I was before. What else have we got? So I'm running dashboard mode pro, I think it's, or drive mode pro, on an Android device for satellite navigation. I had a Garmin Montana on here for a long time. I lost my rag with Garmin on their rugged, and I'm doing air quotes here, rugged power mounts. I've just been through so many of them. They're the least rugged thing I think I've ever had. This Android device, it's a Blackview. It's fantastic. I absolutely love it, and the guy that writes it, the Portuguese guy that writes it, is brilliant. It's been really helpful, and I've got it set up. It's fantastic. Never get lost with that. I've got a Trailtech temperature gauge just telling me what the temperature is. You can see it's not particularly warm in the garage today, but it's okay. Original CRF250L controls with some Rallye grip puppies, which are great. There's virtually no vibration on the bike at all. The the 500 engine is so smooth. It's absolutely fantastic, but it's a squeeze. You know, it really does just fit within the frame of the bike. A lot of things have to get removed or moved out of the way. So like the diode box that's here and all the controls that sit on this side of the bike. There's quite a lot of rewiring that was done on the loom to get it all to fit. I'm running, keep moving backwards here, I'm running a Unifilter Australia filter. It's really hard to see down in there. I've cut the snorkel out completely. I need more airflow for the 500 engine. But it's still the original 250 airbox, but with a custom manifold that connects up to the throttle bodies. This is a really tight space to work in. You have to get up and over this bar as part of the frame and then down to the throttle bodies. So that was a handmade piece that I had made for me. It's absolutely fantastic. And it does fit in a really tight little spot. The fueling is controlled by a RapidBike EVO, and then a completely custom exhaust system. It's based a little bit around the specs of the original CB500 with this, let's call it fake Rapovic, I think would be the best description. Exhaust, I've played around with a lot of different exhausts on this bike, trying to get a free-flowing as possible engine without obnoxious noise. I'm not a big fan of really loud bikes. When I'm running off-road, I kind of don't really want to be heard from miles away. So this is not too bad. There's a baffle inside in the joint here that just keeps the engine note down a little bit. Still, I think it sounds really nice. A lot of people comment on how nice it sounds, but it's not obnoxious. Behind the RapidBike EVO is, I've got a SpeedoHealer, obviously. This is not the wheel set or the gearing that the CB500 came with, so I have to correct the speed with that for the dash. And behind that is my keyless ignition. The CRF250L I bought was stolen recovered, and one of the biggest bits of damage was the lock set was completely ripped out. And then rather than trying to find another key and another lock set and then ECU to match the key and all that lovely Honda stuff, I just completely ripped it out and I replaced it with this. I have a digital fob I carry in my pocket. Like any keyless ignition, it senses the fob and lets the bike switch on. Yeah, no key, so yeah, I just power up, switch here. It's actually in garage mode at the moment, so I switch it on, you can see all the power comes on. I don't need the fob, mainly because I've been working on the bike. Lights are flashing here, by the way. If you ever get this on your CB500 or CRF250L, it does the same. This means your fuel pump is not connected. Okay, what else have we got? Yeah, okay. Now, one of the things we were talking about earlier on in the video was about ground clearance. Because of the tight routing of the exhaust pipes, it's a little bit hard to see here. The exhaust pipe comes down underneath the engine, and it's just here. The O2 sensor, just in front of it, is in here, really close to the bottom of the engine, but sits just below this frame runner, the cradle, which meant that obviously you can't put a normal bashplate on it. Nothing from the CRF250 parts catalogue will fit. So I had this titanium plate made. I didn't ask for a titanium plate. The guy that does this for me, Matt, an amazing guy, amazing tooling engineer, just rang me up and said, sorry, I don't have any aluminium, will titanium do? And I was like, hell yes. And it's fantastic. It's taken an absolute beating. There's barely a mark on it. I think it's crushed some rocks somewhere. But it's fantastic. I've got these big foot pegs. If I come to the back of the bike, you can probably see how wide the engine casing is compared to the 250L, and where the brake pedal is and where the foot pegs are. So you need to just move out a little bit, space out, give yourself a bit more room. Zeta heel guards, just because it was scratching up the frame a little bit. I've kept my, I know a lot of people take these off, but I've kept my rear foot pegs on, passenger pegs on, because a couple of times now we've been off-road and someone's bike's not worked. I need to get them back. I need to be able to carry a pillion. They're also useful for hooking luggage too as well. I'm running a YSS shock. I had an Öhlins CRF450L shock. I changed the suspension when I changed the front forks to get extra height. I put all the linkages, so all of these connectors that are down the bottom here are off 250 Rallye, which is about an inch taller than the 250L. And the shock is different as well. And the Öhlins Rally shock is eye-wateringly expensive. I've gone to a YSS. I've had really good experience with it. I highly recommend it. It's about half the price, I think, maybe even less than that, than the Öhlins. And it sure as hell is not half the performance. Rear end's completely standard. I've got a slight change of gearing. I think I'm running standard front sprocket for a 250L and 2 teeth down on the rear. Gives me really good road speed. Obviously the bike's not lacking in torque. It makes nearly twice the power and 3 times the torque of a 250L, so you're not exactly lacking in it, and you've hardly put any weight on at all. Obviously tail tidy, some very small LED indicators. I've got a power charger here. I think that's about it. That's a lot of modifications. Obviously you can see it's a real squeeze getting there, all the electronics in the bike. Running a lithium ion battery, really super light, has never let me down. That is not true, it's a complete lie. It did let me down really badly at an event, but that was more down to the regulator rectifier. A brand new one, which apparently MOSFET ones never fail. This one did. I ran the bike and it was not charging at all and got stuck in the middle of nowhere, which was a real joy. But the battery is not too bad once we change the regulator rectifier. I think that's about it. Obviously I'm running Krieger. I've got a seat concept seat that goes on there. I cannot recommend that highly enough. I've ridden many 12-hour plus back-to-back days with that seat, and it's really comfortable. And as I mentioned earlier on, the 12.5 litre Acerbis tank kind of finishes it all off. And I'm running a full set of white plastics. I think that's about it. So that's it. That's the CRF500L without its clothes on. I'm not going to start it up because I'm in the garage. It's very noisy, but I will post a short video of a ride after I've got everything back together and we're back on the road again. Thanks a lot.